When preparing for SHTF scenarios, we're always trying to improve ourselves as well as the gear we've acquired for those SHTF events that might arise. However, a lot of us are on a budget and can't necessarily afford some of that higher end, top quality gear that we wish we had. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you can upgrade all of your SHTF gear, even if you're on a budget, and how you can get those tiered upgrades without spending a fortune. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're going to talk about how to upgrade your SHTF gear while you're still on a budget, and how you can get some of those higher end top tier items without breaking the bank, okay? A lot of us are prepping on a budget. We don't have all the money in the world to spend on prepping for SHTF, but we do want to prepare and we want to continually get better items. So there's a lot of philosophies out there on how you should handle that when you're on a budget. And I'm giving you some advice today about ways you can get better gear and higher quality items without spending $1 million all at once, or without going out and taking out a lot of debt just to get some of these preps that you feel like you need right now. I want everyone to understand that I work with a budget just the same as a lot of you do. And it's taken me a lot of time to develop some of these habits that have gotten me into a situation where I've been able to get more gear and better quality gear when it comes to SHTF prepping. So if you're worried about preparing for SHTF and you want to go ahead and learn other ways that you can prepare yourself and get better top quality equipment, hit that SHTF subscribe button below so that way we can all prepare together and figure out better ways for putting ourselves ahead of the curve and have a better time when it comes to preparation, okay? So some of the philosophies of mine that are related to how to get better gear and how to budget properly for prepping for SHTF is related to other philosophies I've heard before. However, I've developed some of my own thoughts on them because some of them I don't necessarily agree with. And one of the most common philosophies for purchasing your equipment for SHTF is buy once, cry once, right? You buy the top and high quality, whatever it may be, at the highest cost you can find, because you're gonna appreciate that item better than the budget version, and it's gonna work for you and do its job better, and you're gonna spend a lot more money that one time, but you're not gonna replace the other item due to it breaking or not operating properly or whatever it may be down the road. Now, the only thing I find conflicting with that I don't agree with is the fact that not everyone can afford to buy that top tier item. I can't afford to go out and just buy Daniel Defense pre-built manufacturer awesome AR-15s. I can't do it. It's just not in my budget right now. But some people can, and that's great. And you should be able to go out and buy those things if that's what you want to be able to do, if you have the money to do so. But a lot of us in the preparedness community that are worried about SHTF don't have the budget to do those kinds of things. So I'm hoping that this video helps you, because one of my philosophies is I want to have it and not need it than not have it and need it. And what I mean by that is I'd rather have an $800 AR-10 than have no AR-10 because I'm saving up for the $2,100 one. Those are things that I actually feel is important as an SHTF prepper. I'd rather have some items than no items because I'm still worried about just getting the best thing I can possibly buy. So how do I get to the point where I have certain items that are of higher quality or from a top tier kind of an orientation based on the budget that I'm currently working with? Well, here's some of what I do that I'm going to share with you, so hopefully that we can all learn from it and help you guys out by getting better preps and better equipment without spending a fortune. So one of the first things I do is I trade in and I trade up. And what I mean by that is I will trade items in to get better items once the time comes where I have a little bit more of a budget to add some more money to that particular part of my preps. And that's generally going to be applied to firearms, right? There's been a lot of times where I've traded a firearm in towards a better one, and I've saved a lot of money over the years by owning that firearm that maintains its value. And if you don't know this about firearms and maybe you're new to firearm ownership, they maintain their value very well. So if I'm able to go in and trade in a $600 pistol towards the $900 one I really want, well, at some point in time, that means I'll have to spend $300 rather than spending $900 all at once. And during that time that I've been waiting to be able to afford to do that, I've had a nice, capable $600 pistol laying around that is able to defend me and my family and able to do what I want it to do, but it's just not quite exactly what I wanted, okay? So those are the things that I'm talking about. Trading in and trading up is huge, and I suggest doing it with firearms all the time. With my P365 here, I actually traded in a firearm that I have a video of from back in the day. It was my Smith & Wesson Model 60 Pro Series, an awesome little 357 Magnum, J-frame, great for concealed carry. But I wanted something a little more practical, a little easier to conceal, and a little bit more modern because of the different scenarios that I was starting to face in my professional and my everyday life, where I felt like I needed something with more rounds and more capability. And I traded that Model 60 Pro Series in on this P365. And honestly, they were just about a wash. So I got something I wanted that was more practical and better for what I needed without barely spending any extra money. And that is exactly how I get a lot of my firearms. And my philosophy behind that, in case anybody's wondering, is that a long time ago, I used to own a lot of firearms. I had a ton of different rifles and handguns and everything. What it comes down to is the more firearms you own, the less of them you shoot, because you can't just go take every firearm you own to the range every single time you go. So I started a new philosophy for myself where I consolidated my inventory. I practice with the firearms I own, and I take them to the range often, and I use them over and over and over again to get better and more efficient with those firearms than I was before when I was trying to split my time up between 13 to 24 different pistols and rifles at one point in time. So that's something I did. And so I started trading in and trading up the firearms to get exactly what I wanted, and not feeling bad about letting go of a firearm that no longer fit a purpose I wanted to use it for, or no longer pulled its weight when it came to what I was looking for in that firearm. So trade in and trade up, especially related to firearms, a huge way to get closer and closer to that goal of that higher priced, higher quality item that you might not have gotten otherwise, okay? So yes, do I think it's better to have a Taurus G2C than no firearm at all? Of course. And honestly, those Taurus G2Cs are doing pretty well considering that they're from a budget company. But one day you can take that Taurus G2C in and trade it in on a Glock 19 and only have to spend out of pocket at that time maybe $200 or $300 more and feel pretty good about it, okay? So those are things that I do. I trade in, I trade up. Another way you can easily upgrade your preps when it comes to SHTF is to buy and sell used items. I buy used stuff all the time because honestly, when it comes to certain types of items, used is definitely a good way to go because they're generally not going to lose any of their value or their ability to do what they're supposed to do. They're just used. So they're a lot cheaper and I get a better quality item for a lot less money than buying a brand new budget item of the same type. So I buy used things quite a bit. And when it comes to used, I like to buy things that you can't really screw up. So sometimes I'm a little iffy on used like electronics, or used optics, stuff like that, which might be a little more fragile and in a little bit of extra abuse might go a long ways on those items. But things like, knives or axes or things like backpacks, stuff like that, you can find used and actually save a ton of money on. And I also then sell things. So just for example, I bought this Safariland holster because I added a light to my SIG P320. Well, now I have this holster, which is very capable and contains the light that I need to put on my pistol, okay? So now I'm gonna turn around and take my old Safariland holster that does not bear a light and sell it. And I'm gonna basically spend probably the difference of $15 to $20 at the most in order to get this new holster. So I don't just keep stuff around for no reason. If there's a reason for it, I'll keep it, but for this situation, I am now dedicated to keeping a light on my pistol, and this holster will actually hold the pistol pretty well without a light on it too. So therefore, I don't need the other one anymore. So I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna make a lot of my money back on on the purchase that I made for this holster. Of course, I buy this first, so that way I still have this in case I need it. You never know when things are gonna go down. You never know when the logistics are gonna break down, so you don't wanna get rid of things before you have the next thing. But you can know in your head financially, you're gonna be able to recuperate some of that cash by selling the old item. So that's one thing I do. Another thing I do is I buy used items, like I said. This Smith & Wesson 460 Performance Center is an awesome revolver, right? I mean, who wouldn't want something this ridiculous, right? Well, that being said, I got this for about $1,000. Trust me, there was some trade-in involved there. But at $1,000, brand new, this thing is MSRP'd at $1,600, okay? So you have to consider the amount of savings you get from a used item. And when it comes to wheel guns, especially from reputable manufacturers like Smith & Wesson or Ruger, buying used can take you a long way, and often you're still gonna get a really high quality, well taken care of firearm, okay? So, just be aware that there's nothing wrong with buying things used, especially if it takes that much of a price difference off the top and allows you to have access to something as top quality and top tier as a Performance Center Smith & Wesson Magnum, okay? So, that's another philosophy I use. And these are pieces of advice I'm giving you guys to share with you what I've done in order to upgrade my preps and get better quality items over the years. I'm not independently wealthy. I don't have tons of money just laying around. I just strategically sell, buy, and trade things in order to get better gear, okay? And the other thing I do is I create redundancy with things that might not be worth selling, but I might find something better or more capable on a sale and decide that I can then upgrade that item and still keep the following item I used to have. So creating redundancy, we all know 2 is 1, 1 is none, right? Well, creating redundancies can sometimes justify that purchase, especially if you have what you need already. It gives you the time to wait for the right time to buy. So good examples of that. I used to carry this Gerber dime in my coin pocket of my jeans, basically, because it's a nice little multi-tool. It's handy. It's got a few functions on it that I've used here and there, and it's done a pretty good job. Recently, I kind of put it through a little more than it could handle, trying to crimp wire and stuff like that, just because it was an on-the-fly fix-a-trailer job, right? Well, it couldn't really hold up. So I've been on the lookout for a better deal of something a little bit higher quality. And I'm also really trying to push to buying more made in the USA stuff, and that's just me, but found this Skeletool by Leatherman over at one of my local sporting goods stores just the other day on sale, and it was only $40. Now this is usually a $60 item. Even on Amazon right now, I think this is $55. So finding it for $40 told me right then and there, this is the time to buy. I picked it up. I now have this that I'm gonna carry with me on my EDC every day. And I have this as a backup plan in case I need something else. This can go in one of my backpacks, this can go in my vehicle, this can just go in my nightstand, it doesn't matter, but I have a backup version of it that's not worth selling and not worth taking the time to try to get rid of, that I can then count on in case this just breaks or something else, which I don't think it will, but you never know. And the same thing goes for my flashlights here. I used to carry this EGTAC way back in the day. It's a really nice little flashlight, to be honest with you. It's bright, it still works, it's been through the ringer, okay? And it has, it still has plenty of life to it, but it's beat up. The pocket clip broke off of it. The screw holes for it are all stripped, so I can't replace it. And I decided at that time, like, I gotta find a better EDC flashlight. So now I have this Surefire Stiletto, right? Well, this Surefire Stiletto is doing a really good job for me. I have no complaints about it currently. It seems to do just fine for whatever I use it for. And I still have the EGTAC. This is my redundancy. So now this sits in a safe in my bedroom at night just as a backup light. Trust me, it's not the only light in my bedroom, but it's just one more light that's in a safe. So if you were to go access a handgun in the middle of the night for some reason and you need a light real quick, then here this is. So the redundancy factor is there. And so buying this, which I did get a good deal on, which is what I waited for because I already had this, justified me getting this so I could actually put this back and still use it. So don't believe the buy once, cry once deal if you're starting out with prepping or if you're trying to figure out ways to get better SHTF gear. You can trade in, you can trade up, you can buy and sell used items, and you can create redundancy with your old gear because you have the time now to wait around and pick up that new item when it goes on sale or when you can find a good deal instead of feeling like you have to spend that money right then and there. And that's what I've done. And honestly, it's been working for me over and over again, you know? Here's like a $30 survival knife. It's actually pretty decent. Here's a much nicer knife. These knives are because I'm able to sell other items I have and purchase these instead. This is a much more capable, much better survival knife. It's an SE4, beautiful knife. I can't wait to take it out and give it some trials, as you might say. But it's gonna do a much better job than the $30 survival knife because it is built for that and it is a better knife. And back in the day, that would have been out of my price range. Now it's not because I've been buying and selling things in order to move forward, okay? So I will say I do have a pretty decent knife video coming out for you very soon here. I'm going to talk about different survival knives, some basic concepts of what you should be looking for, and if you're on a budget, definitely look out for it because I'm going to tell you about some things that you might not know about in order to get a decent survival knife at a budget price that's still going to do a good job for you. And I'm gonna work on some other videos coming up here soon. I have a new shooting range going on in town that's just gonna open this Saturday, so I'm pretty excited about it, and I should be able to start getting some more shooting videos going. I've slowed down on those because we had a baby, okay? But I have some stuff that I want to test out, some new equipment, new gear that's going to be awesome, and I just want to let you guys know that that's coming down the pipe. So if you have any questions about ways that I was able to establish this system of trading things in, selling things, buying stuff, kind of some of my philosophies about it, leave comments below. Feel free to ask me whatever you might have questions about. If I don't get to you, I apologize, but I'm trying my best to keep up on comments. But I do have a full-time job, I do run this channel, I do have a new baby, so there's a lot going on right now, and I try my best to get back to every one of you. Just give me some time and try to be patient, okay? So, just some of my philosophies on how you can upgrade your SHTF gear, just some of my philosophies on how you can get started without feeling like you have to spend $1 million, and that's gonna be it for Magic Prep.